everybody, and welcome to another episode of Next Level. This is a little interview series that we have been putting together in preparation for NECANN Boston, which is happening March 18th through the 20th. My name is Chris Vaglio. I'm the CEO of Rocket Growth Agency and Business Development Executive with Urban Creative. And my co-host is...
I'm Dr. David, CEO and founder of UCS Advisors, and we are investor relation experts helping your company get the capital it needs to achieve its greatness. And so, Chris, what are we here today for?
We are here today for a couple reasons. One is we are in preparation once again for NECANN Boston, which is happening March 18th through the 20th. And we've put this little interview series together because we want to be able to showcase the people, the great people that we have met as a result of attending NECANN, talk to them, learn about their businesses, hear their stories, and why NECANN has been so beneficial to them and the entire cannabis community as a whole. The other reason is we wanted to also bring awareness and let everybody know about the workshop that we are hosting once again for the second time in a row at NECANN Boston, and that is how to raise your social capital to raise capital. And you can purchase your workshop tickets right now by heading over to NECANNNextLevel.com. And we do have an early bird special happening. So if you're listening or watching this before March 1st, you can head over to NECANNNextLevel.com and get your ticket at a discounted early bird rate, because after March 1st, they're going up the full price. So head over there right now, and you can also use the link in the show notes to do that. But you're probably wondering, well, what is this workshop all about, and why would I pay money for it? Well, guess what? Dr. David's going to tell you exactly why you should care.
And the reason why you should care is this, is that if you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, you more than likely need to get capital in your business. And the best way to get capital for your business is actually working your networking skills, to actually work on your pitch properly, to work on your elevator speech. And during this seminar, we're going to teach you the benefits and some key things that you can implement that afternoon when going out and walking around the trade show floor. So if you're a company that's looking to raise capital, whether it's for cannabis or non-cannabis, this is a workshop you might want to check out. And the most important thing is this: Chris and I enjoy doing this together. We actually both provide a service like this separately, but we bring our forces together for aspiring entrepreneurs like yourself. And that's one of the best things about attending a conference like NECANN Boston.
Absolutely. And what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to hear from one of the attendees that has really built his business and gone to NECANN for many years. And we're really psyched to have on today's show Mr. Will Reed, owner of Cannaplanners. And hey, Will, welcome to the show. So glad to have you on here today. We got Will Reed from Cannaplanners as our guest today, and we're going to be talking all about his company and also, more importantly, his experience with NECANN. Will, thanks so much for coming on today. Really appreciate you.
My absolute pleasure, fellas. Good to see you both.
Awesome.
And you know what? Today, for all the listeners, I'm going to tell you right now.
My birthday.
No, it's not your birthday. But more importantly, we're going to talk about a great story about the power of networking and how Will and I got connected was all through the power of networking. But we'll save that story for later on and for down the road. But Will, tell us when you started Cannaplanners and tell us about your business real quick.
Yeah, sure. So Cannaplanners is, I'm going to say, the world's leading cannabis creative and digital marketing agency. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm manifesting it. We're the number one in the whole place. There's no one better than us.
Positive mental attitude.
That's
PMA.
it. We are
March 19th.
So we are basically, our responsibilities are we help cannabis companies realize their brand. We create logos. We apply that logos to things like products or signage or whatever, store uniforms for employees, all sorts of things. And then we take that brand and we put them online through our web building platform and market them through SEO and email. We have a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome.
And then also too, I believe one of your clients might have won a NECANN Cannabis Award. Is that accurate? Is that a true statement, sir?
I would say 100% of our clients crush it 100% of the time, but I think you're referring to the Healing Rose, who has historically won every NECANN award. So yeah, I'm big fans of Laura and Zach. They just had twins, so they will. There are new Healing Rose employees coming pretty soon to apply CBD to your body. Let's
And then,
go.
how'd you meet Healing Rose? Did you meet them at NECANN, or how'd you meet them?
Yeah. I met them at NECANN in Portland. Yes, absolutely. And I can remember seeing, it was like, I spotted them from across the room, but it was like, that was, it feels like a million years ago, but it was 5 years ago, maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago, tops. And I can remember, desperately wanting to be a part of a community that I hadn't been. So wanting to be there and finding sort of my allies, my compatriots, I want everybody in the industry to be, my homie, but you find the people, you're like-minded folks, and Laura and Zach were for sure, for sure that. So it was cool to meet them, and we've been, working with them ever since.
So how many NECANN Bostons have you been to?
Specifically Boston?
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 or 4. I think we've done maybe 10 NECANNs total, but we've been to Boston a few times. Yeah.
So which other NECANNs have you done? And more importantly, why as you, the founder of Canna Planners, why do you choose to keep going to NECANN?
It's a great question. So, like I said, in the beginning of this company, I desperately wanted to know people, know who my community was. So like going to this, I'm a New Englander, our company's based in Vermont. So having this New England specific thing was, amazing, and really like leapt us into, it forced us into the community, which was great. And, we've been a part of that ever since, but that was the primary driving force, so we've been to Maine, we've been to Providence, I think we're going to go to Oklahoma this year, Boston, obviously.
I remember the Providence show. Yes, I remember that Providence show.
Good times, man.
Yes,
good times.
very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm pretty grateful to Mark and his team at NECANN for helping us start our company, because that definitely, we met you there, we met Healing Rose there, we've met lots of clients there, and beyond like making the initial client relationship, which that's awesome, and that creates a return on that investment for that event. I think like post-COVID, because we were able to grow our business post-COVID, and these events are now places where I can meet all these clients that I'd never met before, because we hadn't been going to events. So being in Boston for the last NECANN, we sold some stuff, we did all right, but it was almost more worth it because we met all of these clients who we had come out with successful projects for, but we'd never thrown them a high five. We've never like smoked a joint with them outside of NECANN, like we've never done those things before. So it's awesome to actually like meet our clients.
Dude, that's great, man. And that's awesome. No, it's funny too. We talk about the camaraderie and being in the community, which, that's one thing I think that makes NECANN really special, is that, it's not like MJ Biz, we're having 20,000 attendees. And for the listeners here, you're really in for a pleasure, because Will also attends the MJ Biz show in Vegas and has had a booth there. And I believe one year you decided to be in the booth by yourself at MJ Biz with
2 years,
15,000 people attending.
2 years. 2 years. So so let's talk about kind of NECANN. And I don't want to say verse BizCon, because they're not the same.
Everyone has their lane, but it's a community. Right. It's a community. We're all
totally
together.
NECANN prepared me for BizCon. Okay. So when I went to NECANN, what it first, like in the early days, and it still does this, it validated the community to me. So I was able to see, okay, there's 1,000 people in this room. Like I can have a conversation and probably something positive will come out of just me being here. This validates kind of the legalization movement or the CBD, industry or whatever at the time. So there's that part. And then it prepares you for, if you're able to go to Vegas or to a larger conference, it prepares you for that. Right. So the first Vegas show I went to, I was like, oh, it can't be any harder than Boston. Like that was crazy. And by the way, let me mention, and this is a couple of years ago, I'm 41. I'd never been to Las Vegas in my life, so I hadn't experienced any thatness. So I was like, oh, well, it's I'm staying in the hotel at the conference show. How bad can it be? Meanwhile, like the conference is 6 miles, it's indoors, but it's 6 miles away from like my room, so that was a big learning lesson. But NECANN prepared me for that. So when you're, in Boston and you're talking to, whatever it is, I don't know, 5,000 people over the course of a weekend, and then you go to Vegas and you're talking to like 5,000 people a day, it for sure helps you get into your game, for sure. And that was another validating moment. You go to NECANN. I don't want to come up with an analogy because it might sound. I won't analogize this, but you come to NECANN and you're like, whoa, like this is awesome. Like this is exactly what I wanted.
This leads me to my next question.
That was my first experience.
So
then you go to Vegas and it's like, oh, wow.
But remember, Vegas, you have West Coast and East Coast, and a lot of times in NECANN, you're just really East Coast. So
exactly,
you have been to both coasts for events, and let me ask you this question, because not everyone has been to a West Coast event. So in your opinion, what is your favorite part about attending a cannabis conference on the East Coast?
It's going to sound so juvenile, what I'm about to say. It's literally
close to home.
No.
Oh.
That's what I would have said.
Yeah, I thought they were going to say.
Well, there's that. That is nice. It's like smoking weed outside of the convention center with all my clients, with all my friends that I've made running this company. Like, to me, like the booth is great. The floor is great, but NECANN, it's a tight, like almost everybody knows each other.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to really show my colors now. It reminds me a lot of like being a Grateful Dead or a Fish fan. Like you go to those shows, you go to NECANN, and you only see those people at those shows or at NECANN, but you're like homies, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It's like us in a lot of ways. Like our relationship was purely event focused. Like that's the only time I ever saw you. That was the only time like we ever talked for, maybe months at a time or whatever. And then we'd go there and it's like, boom, we fall right into. Yeah, exactly. And we're out on Mass Avenue, like maybe smoking a spliff or something. But I like the looseness and the camaraderie in NECANN. I mean, I don't have that in the West. I don't have that in the West Coast. For sure, we're an East Coast company, so probably that is a big part.
And the other thing is too, and something I always talk about people about attending a show on the East Coast. The state of Maine is the second state to get medical marijuana back in 1999. California was number one, but Maine was number two in 1999. That was a long time before other states came on board. So you had people already working that medical cannabis sector. I mean, heck, when I was treating patients in the state of Maine in the early 2000s, we were already teaching them how to use the benefits of medical cannabis instead of opiates. So like you kind of still have that old school legacy growers. I tell a lot of people, and Chris, the same exact thing. Like, if you're thinking about doing anything in the industry at all, NECANN is a great conference to get your feet wet. Come,
and validate your idea.
Yeah,
like you can,
like you said,
you can walk the hall. You can walk the hall in an hour, and be like, okay, there's my competitor. Oh, there's like 10 clients or potential clients or whatever, and you can get a sense of. I mean, it's just so much due diligence in one weekend, right? There's so much to do beyond just the sales part of it, like being able to make those, future sales connections, obviously important. And that's what everybody actually goes for. But there's so many, I know you guys are all about the networking thing. And like, that's really what's going on here is there's
March 19th, how to raise Chris, I'm tongue-tied.
Wow.
Tongue-tied.
How to raise your social capital to raise capital. Yes, we're hosting a workshop on March 19th at 9 a.m. You can get tickets right now, NECANNextlevel.com. There is an early bird special, so if you're watching this and it's before March 1st, March 1st is the deadline. After March 1st, sorry, it's full price, but get tickets now. Early bird special, NECANNextlevel.com.
Dr. David won't be able to say it, but Chris is on point with the graphics. Right. It came right up with that graphic, buddy.
Boom.
So for the quick listeners, and Chris and I talk about the power of networking, and Chris and I have a bunch of great stories of networking, but this is the story I want to tell about Will. So Will's brother-in-law, I met at a bar in Hoboken, New Jersey, at a high school alumni networking event. This guy goes, "Oh, you're in weed? Oh, let me tell you something. My brother-in-law is doing something, some website or something in weed. So you guys should really connect and talk." I'm like, "Sure, of course." Next thing you know, we're connected. Will and I are now going back and forth. Meet the guy. Actually, I met you in Vegas first, I believe. Didn't
Maybe.
I? Yeah, I met you in
Maybe.
Vegas first, and then I met you in NECANN, and then just
I
a
think that's
friendship
right.
has formed from there. I'm proud to say Will does my website at UCSadvisors.com. So appreciate that.
We
And
definitely do.
so let me ask you this, because we only got a few more minutes. Will, what is one of your favorite NECANN stories?
Well, I will tell because I do have a spotting you across the room story too. So before you did whatever you did, man, and you dropped, I don't know, I'm going to say 1,000 pounds off your waist. You dropped 15 inches, you added 6 to your body, whatever you did, you slimmed down. But before that happened, I used to see you across the way sporting the weed suit, and you were the guy at the thing who would walk around in the weed suit. And it's such a simple thing to wear a suit adorned in pot leaves,
Right.
but it worked for you. You pulled it off.
He pulled it off really well. You're
Pulled it
probably
off somehow.
one of the few people that could pull it off, honestly. Yeah.
I'm sure you
Much
got
love.
that suit on Amazon. You pulled it off, my guy. Anyway, so that was like your business card. And
It
just
was.
that alone was like, I gotta know this guy. Meanwhile, we already did know each other. We just didn't know it yet. It was
Yeah.
one of those things. And that really is the power of networking. And it sounds like, oh, I met his brother-in-law at a bar. And like, if I had a nickel for every story that was like that, like, oh, I ran into this guy at the grocery store, like those things happen constantly. And
Yes, they
part
do.
of the game, and this isn't just cannabis business, this is business. It's
Exactly.
just you're always selling and you're always paying attention, because you never know who you're talking to, especially if you're,
Right.
outside, the office or whatever. You never know who you're talking to, and you never know what opportunities are there until you shake someone's hand.
Exactly. And that's so well said. And it's interesting how many people are afraid to go out and to network. And
It's scary though. Hold on. Don't
Yeah.
skip over that, because it is scary, right? So those
Yeah.
first things, especially for like budding entrepreneurs, when you're starting your company, one thing that I try to tell everybody, and I've heard you say this too, Dr. David, is like, you have to step outside your comfort zone no matter what it is. And you have to force yourself to do that a lot of times. It's hard to be a human person. And especially if you want to be a successful human person, you have to do things that probably like your inner voice is saying, run away from, don't do that, run away, go watch TV and, be safe. But like going to NECANN, and it's scary for a bunch of reasons. You're a new company, man, $3,000 for a table, or 20, $2,000. And back then it was like 1,500, like whatever it is. It's still an astronomical amount of money. You're investing a lot to be there. You're investing a lot in yourself. You're putting yourself out there, and there's nothing more frightening than putting yourself out there. So be scared. It's okay to be scared, but like recognize that fear and say, I'm doing it anyway, and do it.
Well said. Well said. And that goes back to where it's interesting. It was actually out of need and demand how Chris and I started the seminar. And when we introduce ourselves, we call ourselves networking experts, which we are. And a lot of people, we tell people all the time, if you want to be a business owner, you want to be an entrepreneur, you naturally are going to have to become some type of networker. And what's interesting, why we do the class at Saturday at 9 a.m. before the conference even starts is so when we actually teach people in the class who maybe don't feel comfortable, we give them a couple of networking tips right then and there that they can implement that afternoon while at the conference to help kind of ease what they need to do. So
Yeah, they walk out of there with like very just actionable items, like the things literally they learn, as David said, they can apply like immediately. And that's what we wanted to do, is be able to give people those tools. So that way, like you said, it's a lot of money, but it's an investment. And to maximize that investment, get the ROI, these are the tools to do that. Like, make your money back, get those relationships. And that's why we wanted to really just empower people and, help them step into their power and use it. Develop those relationships.
NECANN has been a huge part of that. I mean, I wish I could like put an exact number on how many clients we actually have, made relationships with through NECANN. It's a bunch. We come out with a handful every time.
And that's huge. And that's where it's also too where, and for all the listeners, Will, you are a great example of someone who you met someone and you followed up. You kept in contact. You followed up. And the relationship is formed from there. I mean, you and I are a great example. Like, hey, great. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to see Will at this event. Can't wait. Haven't talked to the guy in a few months. Yeah, you exchange with me an email or two. How are you doing? How are you doing? But you build that relationship. You build that level of trust. That's what it's all about, especially when you're a business owner. You want to work with other business owners that you can trust and that have been in your shoes.
Let me tell you one more. I don't know if you're wrapping up, but let me tell you one more NECANN story. So one of my first clients was a company called Atlas Plant Trainer, who I know you know. Rob and Danielle Smith, husband and wife duo, who I love. Rob Smith, rest in peace. He passed away last year. But they were one of my first clients, and they were, I think, my first client from NECANN. I'm almost positive that they were. Rob and his wife would build these trellis systems for your plants, essentially, so you could make them grow bigger or whatever. So he was one of the first guys that I met at NECANN, and it was my first NECANN, and I'm fresh faced, and I know it was in Maine, and I know Maine's a legal state or whatever, but this is all so new to me, and I come from at the time an illegal state, so things are slightly closeted, so anyway, so I'm sitting I'm sitting at my booth, and all of a sudden this entire room, the entire conference, so it was like a sports center, right? It was friggin' huge.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. The whole room, all of a sudden, is like just reeks of the most beautiful smelling weed you've ever smelled. And I did the, like a cartoon where like the pie's sitting on the window. Yeah. Yes. And I was just like floating to the smell. And it was at the time, Rob and his wife were demoing trimmers, and Mark gave them permission to actually like trim so they were trimming their own home grow as a demo, but also trimming their weed, which they had to do. But it was just like, I met Rob and Danielle. I have these pictures, and if I can share them with you, but it's just, both of them holding probably 4 pounds each of freshly trimmed weed. And it was just like, this is exactly what I want. First of all, I got to know these people, which I did. And we've had a wonderful relationship ever since. But it was like, these are my people. Like, this is a trade show. You know what I mean? Like, yes. This is great. So there you go. That's one of my, that's when I knew. I was like, I'm exactly where I am supposed to be.
Well, you know what, Will? I appreciate you being on today's show. I can't wait to see you at NECANN Boston coming up March 18th to March 20th. And Chris, why don't you take us out, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank everybody once again for watching and hanging out with us today. Make sure you use the links in the show notes. Make sure you visit cannaplanners.com. And of course, make sure you get your tickets for NECANN Boston happening March 18th through the 20th. Go to necann.com. And of course, most of all, get tickets for our workshop, How to Raise Your Social Capital to Raise Capital, NECANNextlevel.com. If you're watching this or hearing this before March 1st, we've got an early bird special. So make sure you grab your tickets, because after March 1st, you got to pay the full price. So NECANNextlevel.com. Go there and get your tickets for that workshop, and get your tickets to the show, NECANN.com. And visit Will's website, cannaplanners.com. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you all so much. See ya.